In 2016, I came to the realization that I had been duped. Duped by living in my own little bubble where everyone I socialize with would generally agree that things like clean air, clean water are basic fundamental human rights. And in my closest circles, I could talk openly and usually in agreement about such things as same-sex marriage and racial equality. But on November 9th, 2016, my bubble popped. You see, I have a daughter who is part of the LGBTQ community. And that morning, she wasn't up and out of bed the way she should have been. And I went into her room and I asked her if she'd seen the news, although I knew she had. Sitting on her bed, she squeezed me so hard it hurt. And she said, "Mom, I'm so scared." And in that moment, that mama bear rose up in me and I knew I had to do something. So I made her get up and go to school. I spent the next several days grumbling about how I was obviously going to need to get into politics. Because you see, my bubble didn't just pop, it exploded. I was shocked at the things I was seeing being said about women that were being widely accepted or just ignored. And as the mother of a daughter and a son, I knew it was my responsibility to do something. But the big question was, what? And then a friend of mine told me about this Women's March on Washington. I was all over Google, searching hotels, flights. And in my feasibility study, I sadly realized that I would not be able to make the trip. Knowing that others would feel the same way, I said to my husband one day, "What if we just do our own march here in Denver?" His response, "Oh, someone will do that." So that night, got back together with my good friend Google and just started searching Women's March on Denver. Nothing. So I looked over at my husband, who's quietly sleeping, and I went to Facebook and I quietly clicked on create event. I set it to be the same day as the Women's March on Washington. I shared it to some progressive pages, emailed my friends and said, "Hey, say you're coming to my event, so it looks like people are going to show up." And I went to bed thinking, oh, it'll probably just be me and 50 of my goofy friends, but that's okay because we're doing something. Woke up the next morning in normal fashion, checked my phone. 800 people are coming to your event. Oh, I should probably figure out how to get a permit. I might want to tell my husband. That next Saturday, I met the two women who would become my co-organizers for the Women's March on Denver. And with the help of 400 plus volunteers, we pulled off what I've been told was the 5th largest march and the world's largest protest in history. It was truly inspirational to see all the women and men that were coming out of the woodwork to be part of this global movement for social justice. And I'll admit it was pretty cool to be on CNN. Women did a fantastic job of showing up on January 21st, 2017. And on January 22nd, 1 million different grassroots organizations popped up. There were tax marches, climate marches, science marches, immigrant marches, and record numbers of women had announced that they would be running for office. It was thrilling. But as I had immersed myself in full-time march organizing with women whom I barely knew, I found myself constantly frustrated with how I was seeing women treat one another. And it wasn't pretty. Here we were supposed to be lifting each other up, and I could be here all day giving you examples of how women were trying to bring each other down before, during, and after the march. My personal favorite is when a collaborator said to me, "Oh, people are probably just calling you because you have a cool name." Well, as much as I love compliments wrapped up in insults, and I do have a cool name, right? A comment such as that does nothing but demean the hard work and effort that I had put forth at that point. And I started asking myself and others, how can we as women expect men to treat us with the dignity and respect that we demand when we don't treat each other that way? And I started wondering, are we hardwired for this kind of behavior? And is there anything we can do about it? Well, turns out that we are hardwired for this behavior. Women resort to passive-aggressive tendencies because it's our way of jousting. And the prize is the guy, the best friend, the social media followers, the job, maybe even the blue ribbon at the fair. But we have gotten to a point where we're not really supporting each other and raising each other up the way we need to be. You see, in the context of our primal existence, women resorted to this passive-aggressive behavior in competition for males. And in this way, we could protect our bodies, which are meant for childbearing, not fighting. But in the context of our modern existence, this type of passive-aggressive behavior can leave real emotional scars. You see, men compete in the realm of strength and wealth. Women compete in the realm of age, attractiveness, and personal characteristics. So quite literally, men could compare bank balances and duke it out, and the problem would be solved. But women, we do it a little differently. We find that loose thread in your psyche, that hot button emotion, and we push, and we poke, and we pull. And we'll tell you you look great to your face, but the moment you turn around, we'll roll our eyes. With one backhanded comment, we can erase years of self-esteem building therapy. And why? Well, we can't go around duking it out. That would mess up our pretty faces. But here's what really bothers me. When you're a woman who's just trying to make her way in a world that has just barely given you permission to be strong and independent, it is a special kind of pain to have another woman tear you down just because of your age, what you look like, or maybe because you're different. And so while ultimately I know a lot of this behavior is instinctual, I do believe we can overcome it. We can find different ways to work together. And I don't care if it's a woman that you've known well or have just met. Nobody walks away thinking, that was really nice that she said I was resourceful despite my lack of education. Yeah, someone said that to me one time. So I'm here to ask today, what if? We've already proven that when we work together, we can accomplish phenomenal things. We proved that on January 21st, 2017. But what if we got to the part where we didn't judge each other based on our appearances? What if we let go of that? What if we learned to appreciate another woman's strength instead of manipulating others into thinking they are weaknesses? What if we talked about the ways in which we've been hurt and have hurt other women? I don't have one answer to this problem, although I have come up with a solution to this affliction that I call the mean girl. And there is a great documentary on this. I don't know if you've seen it. It's actually spot on. But seriously, I see a brighter future if we can get to a point where we can do three things. Find some connection, some common ground, and communicate. Find that connection between your strength and hers. Find that connection that allows you to build each other up and lift each other up instead of focusing on those differences that make it all too easy for us to tear each other down. Find that common ground or that shared goal. All too often, I haven't been able to accomplish what I wanted to because the women that I was working with had a different goal in mind, and thus the competition would begin. And I think about what a man once said to me. He said, "Shouldn't it be about breaking the glass ceiling and lifting each other through the hole?" Well, yeah. And isn't that the whole idea behind feminism? So let's find that common ground where we can stand together instead of against each other. And finally, what problem can't be solved with a little good old-fashioned communication? When tempted to judge or manipulate or demean or gossip, ask yourself some really important questions. Like, do I need to tear this person down to lift myself up? Does my success depend on their failure? And then take it a step farther and ask them some questions. Maybe it's a really simple question like, how are you? Maybe it's a more complex question like, what are your intentions? But whatever the questions are, listen very carefully to the answers Because within those answers, you might find some connection, some inspiration, and some compassion. For a woman who's just trying to do what we're all trying to do, is make our way, thrive in a patriarchal world.